the end of the week. It's Friday, March the 5th. Okay, it's going to be quite a eventful night. We do have the unemployment out in the States, and it's actually expected to be a little bit worse than expected, but we've got a feeling that it just might tip the scales and just be a little bit positive. The expectations are for down 0.1%, but we're looking for sort of a no change, but maybe even a small up. A little bit of a surprise figure. Those initial jobless claims we've had over the last couple of weeks are starting to sound encouraging, particularly the one last night, so that might feed on to some positive news tonight. Obviously, the market last night stayed within its range. As I said, it's just waiting, just marking time for tonight's data. And we saw, obviously, commodities under a little bit of pressure. Actually, some of those soft commodities actually under quite a bit of pressure. Wheat came off quite a bit as well. Gold off a little bit, US dollar mixed to sideways. It did look as though it was going to break down last night, but it's just held some of its ground. So quite an interesting, or we feel that the US dollar is at a bifurcation point, and that could see the commencement of a trend to the downside pretty soon. But we'll keep you posted on that one as time progresses. Okay, let's have a look at some of the closes. Okay, just looking ahead, the Dow's up 47 points, 10,044. The S&P's down 0.3 and the Nasdaq 0.15. So obviously prices a little bit flat there across the board. Europe was relatively negative last night, and we saw the STOIC was off just a couple of points, off 6. The FTSE was off 6.05. The DAX was down 22, and the CAC was off 14.11. So Europe pretty flat to weak. The US market managed to etch out that gain towards the close. Major news last night, we basically had some negative housing sales, and pending US home sales declined, and that hurt the market a little bit. However, we did get some of that positive initial jobless claims data, and to me that is the lead at the moment, because seeing data like that come through, I think is very positive. So that is quite good. Any other bits of news? There you go. Pending sales of US homes unexpectedly dropped 7.6%, and probably that's probably about the major stuff. But as mentioned, our major focus will be tonight, and let's just close that. Yeah, we'll be tonight with those unemployment data in the States, so we'll stay close to that. Let's just have a look at some of the other markets, and I guess the major one there is that US dollar index. And as you can see there, it looks as if it's in a range, and it looks like it's held that range. And as you can see, the dollar index is just basically trading sideways. And we might see it come back today, but let's see. But at the moment, she's just marking time, and that's all it's doing. And we obviously bounced back from that low. And look, we're stuck in the range there, so it might be a little bit of time before we actually break out to where we think it should go. How did that affect the Aussie? Well, as you can probably anticipate, the Aussie's been stuck in a range. There it is at the moment. This type of formation is quite interesting. It does indicate that we'll have a temp to the top side, but this time round at about 89.90, I don't think I'd be long, because if in fact it does break, then we head back down to 89. So stay pretty close to that one if you are long as we are. Okay, so just also on the euro, and obviously a little bit of a slide there on the euro when it came out. And we're still quite optimistic about it. Euro is in its range here, and if we sort of crunch that up a little bit, you can see that we are definitely trying to find a bottom. So I would actually hold on to my longs, and if I break below that lower end there, that 134.80, then sure, okay, we'll have to revise. But at the moment, that sort of trade in my mind suggests that we are just mucking around in a bit of a range. Failed on the top side, so now we're just going sideways. Let's see what happens tonight to see whether or not the range is confirmed, or in fact we still have that bullish bias. Righty-ho, so we looked at that local market. Let's have a look at some of the share markets. Local market in itself had a reasonable night last night, which was quite interesting, and 47.68. And when you just see that chart, hopefully it'll hurry up and come up. It actually had a reasonable close, and the expectations are for that, perhaps to open up flat. But as we said, look, just be careful of this trend line which has developed, and if it breaks through that, then we can, if it breaks through that area, then it should be a little bit of a concern, particularly down through here. But at the moment, I'd expect it today to actually stay in the range. Okay, on to some of the softs now. Some of the energy, the oil market. will be guided by what happens tonight. And as you can see, oil's still hovering around the top end of the range. We are long oil, and as you can see why, because when you look at that sort of chart formation, you can see that it's holding on to these gains and really doesn't want to retreat. So we're right into support, and if we can break through these top sides, then we would see it higher. It is following this trend line, which we've been following. There we go, quite nicely. So I'm happy to be long there. On to gold. Gold had a little bit of a setback last night. Did get quite a bullish night last night, but it's bounced back off these lows. So if anything, I'm still quite encouraged by that type of price action. I like this sort of rejection of that low. That low we had there, 1132. I like that rejection, and in my mind, I think we will see that prices up a little bit later tonight. Okay, as I mentioned, I had a bit of a fallout there for some of the softs, in particular wheat, back under pressure, and let's have a quick look at that. And it doesn't seem to be whether it was dollar trade or US related or anything like that. It just seems to be that it was just a movement that occurred, and we're back in that range. But it was looking quite good, but now we're just oscillating, and we'll just have to sort of stay close to that. But when you look at the big scheme of things, it still looks as if it's tracking sideways, but only tracking sideways to move higher. Okay, so that's about the markets on the market side of it. Economic data, trade balance in Australia today, Eurozone coming up. ECB announces interest rates, no change there, expect to be pretty flat. And non-farm productivity, initial jobless claims, and the all-important, let's have a look. Yeah, that makes it better. Let's talk about Friday's data. There we are, foreign exchange, foreign reserves, and there's the non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, change in manufacturing payrolls, and of course average earnings, all very important, all leading indicators. So that should be something to obviously keep a close eye on. Well, that's about it for the morning debrief. Stay close to it tonight. We'll be good with the unemployment rate. Let's see if we get a better number. That's what we're looking for. And happy trading, and we'll talk to you later. Cheers for now.